All right, May 8th, 7 p.m., calling the meeting of the Conservation Commission to order. Let's do roll call and establish what we need to do about having a quorum or not. Brian Ward.
Here.
Ellen.
Here.
Julie.
Here.
Jeff.
Present.
Thanks. And Tom.
Here.
And Jess.
Here.
All right, so everybody's a full member. Yep, and he's a ad hoc. All right. So we will open up, and we're here. It's a quorum. Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please note that Zach has just joined the group too. So, thank you, Zach. Nice to see you. All right. First item, public comment. Seeing no members of the public, the people who are here are just represented by the Conservation Commission. Next item, approving the minutes of April 10th. Did folks have an opportunity to read them? Want to take a moment now to read over them? Any suggestions about them? Any edits or comments?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second to Tom's
Second.
motion? Second. Ellen. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Thank you. Financial summary, Ellen.
All righty. So, the Conservation Fund has $128,681.16. The Richard Chandler Fund has $4,621.11 for a total of $133,052.27. We got interest, as we usually do. We also actually got some land use change tax, which we hadn't gotten in a couple of years. $130, big property. R6 lot 11 on Wadley Falls Road. I believe this is the old auto junkyard, I think, if anybody knows where that is. Anyway, it's out on Wadley Falls Road. So apparently a lot is coming out, so I think we'll get a little bit more, but we got $130. Or I should say, she put it on the account, but I don't know if they've collected the $130 yet. But anyway. Yeah, so they take a while to
Yeah, that was quick.
to pay
They
the
actually did
land use change tax, yeah. Let's see what else. For income, for additional income, we had LRAC paid the final payment for the Wigan Farm boardwalk, which was a grant, so we got $33,750 from LRAC to cover that. We've taken in $1,550 from Turtle Fest sponsors, and another $200 came in, I know, so that was the total that we were going to have, was $1,750. As of when this report was done, which was a few days ago, t-shirt sales were $540, and my understanding is we got like another 600 in the last couple of days, so wow. We're either at or over the cost, which was down below was $1,223.50. So anything more we sell would be net. Moving on to debits, we paid Martin Forestry for the Wigan Farm Boardwalk, $6,460. That was a balance, and again, that was mostly covered by grants, if you remember, except for like $100. We paid Northeast Conservation Services for their technical assistance to UNH capstone students, $405. I mentioned the t-shirt, that was to Lamprey Printing, and the Wigan Farm had $10.99 in small miscellaneous hardware for the Wigan Farm Boardwalk. And we'll talk about under the ROSA, we did discuss, we sort of approved an overall budget for the ROSA property, and I have just a tweak to that, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So again, mentioning, I think we're going to get some more land use change tax from that Wadley Falls Road property, not a ton of money, but a little bit. And then we're still waiting on the reimbursement from the Great Bay Resource Protection Partnership for the grant they gave us for the Wigan Farm project, which was $3,520. So you should be getting that sometime. Any questions on the conservation fund?
Yeah, it's great to get some report, thank you.
Doing well. And the general fund balance is $1,689.58. And that's not really changing a lot because we, when Sue retired, we were paying her directly, and Bridget is being covered by the planning office at the moment. So the general fund, which actually that money goes away at the end of the fiscal year in June. So I don't know if we can use that for another purpose or what, but we'll probably end up not needing that unless.
Turtle statue?
Turtle statue, there we go, turtle costume. So,
Reappropriate the funds?
I don't know, I know you can, I mean, we've been.
I do not just because
You're a town council. Yeah, we can ask and see if we can use that for supplies or something, I'm not sure.
I know next year they'll probably ask to decrease the budget if we.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, so, we'll see. So that's it.
Thank you. And real quick, I want to make a note, I did get an email from Bridget, she can't be here tonight, she acknowledged the meeting, and she's going to listen to the tape, review the tape, and she'll make the minutes for us from that tape tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah, so thank you to Bridget. Okay, back to this, Ellen, stay put, hit your mic again with anything that you can update us with about the master plan.
Yeah, I asked, I should know, but the master plan committee has a meeting next week. And I know we're gonna review some final versions, I think the transportation, arts and culture, energy, maybe, I think those are the three that are pretty close. You're not on there anymore, sorry. I think those three.
close.
And then there's a recreation committee and a land use committee or group. So those two, I'm going to be helping with those as part of the master plan subcommittee. So those are in the works.
Herculean task, continued thanks for that.
Yeah, it's a lot. And just as it's related to, well, maybe you can talk about the zoning change stuff, these neighborhood gatherings or what. Are you familiar with those? We can talk about, it's really a planning thing, not a master plan thing. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it for master plan.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to committee and board reports. Brian, what can you tell us that pertains to us from town council or information from the council?
Well, I was re-elected as vice chair to the town council, and Gatana Conley was re-elected as the chair on the 16th meeting. And on the meeting we had last night, honestly, there was nothing really too much as came up, though Arts, Culture, and Tourism is having a photo contest that is pet themed. The only category I remember is catastrophe, and there's nothing else really going on.
All right, and what was the process? Do you express interest to your chair about what you want your committee assignment to be, or am I?
Oh, yes, that happened as well. I believe everyone stayed the same except for Councilor Glazebrook, who took over for the CIP role, and I will also be staying here.
Good, thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's nice. Once you're familiar with it, it's nice to have us all familiar together. Thank you. All right, Jeff, planning.
So we meet next week, next Thursday, so,
Tuesday.
sorry, next Tuesday evening, that's correct. So anything to do with the meeting last month where we kind of had a brief discussion about the zoning changes in the meetings. I know I went over last month, and I don't have my notes with me this month because they were from last month that I talked about last meeting. So I can talk about them if people have questions, but like specifics as to like actual parcel size, like zoning changes for like dimensional things, I wouldn't really know. But so the idea was it's all along the Route 108 corridor and up around the Jerry Ave kind of triangle over here, that where the proposed changes are from the Main Street corridor. We basically broke it up into 3 separate areas and trying to encourage development in these areas. Like the zoning had been changed years ago and it didn't seem to do anything, like nothing really changed. So it's kind of another stab at trying to spur some development in both commercial and residential. So the idea is to get input from the people that live in these areas to see if they support it. So the flyer went out to everyone in town. There's a hearing tomorrow, but I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but.
When you say
Not
hearing, you
tomorrow.
mean input session?
Wednesday, was it yesterday? It was yesterday. Yes, an input session.
Okay.
I guess an input session. It wasn't a public hearing.
There you go.
Yeah, correct. So,
But whatever it was, not is.
I think so.
I think it might be
Or is
going
it
on
next
tonight.
week?
My,
Tonight?
my sister-in-law
Was that
mentioned
Mill
going
Space? It was at a time that I couldn't
Yeah,
make because it
I
was
think
like,
it might be tonight.
it was like 4 to 6 or something like that, so.
I think it was earlier tonight. but-
Yeah, exactly. It was a time frame I couldn't make because of work and stuff, so. I apologize. I apologize.
Don't apologize for everything else you do, it's fine.
Ah. So, but if anyone has questions about kind of what we're thinking, I'm more than happy to try to answer as best I can from my notes.
Any questions for Jeff?
No, I just have an add-on for the zoning thing, in that, I know the planning office is inviting neighborhoods to provide this input, on your neighborhood, like what you're what you think, if anything should change, or what kind of changes, so, my neighborhood was first, our neighborhood was first, I don't know if you got that, but, I went on, I think it was like Tuesday, 4 o'clock, I think there was another one at 6, so I was the only one from our neighborhood that was there, which neighborhood is like a fourth of the town, so, but it's not as density as downtown, but anyway, so there's just the map of your parcel map, and you can say what you like about it, what you think to change, anything, and then you do the cards, the housing card.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for people what they'd like their future to be.
Yeah, so. Slightly different effort, yeah.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
different-
not. Bart got a grant to study. Have kind of loose meetings and thoughts as to how it would work, and then discussion kind of ballooned as you kind of like, well, what about this part that it touches and that? Well, what happens to this? It's all like adjacent, and then they talk about transitions into rural areas, and then, well, what about the rural areas, So then it went on to, should we make the whole town form-based type zoning, and to make things easier for everyone to, I guess, tell everybody what the town is thinking more so than bring us ideas and kind of work people towards a specific goal, more or less, after getting input from everyone else, what they would like to see.
Yeah, this was not guided, you could say whatever you wanted, so.
Was it similar to the master plan neighborhood here?
Yeah, but you did the cards with but you could then write down who you wanted to provide that in a piece of paper. Again, things, challenges, like I wrote, what did I write? I like the open space, obviously, I like Baldwin Road, I like trails. I like our neighborhood. I think the challenges, I said, well, Grant Road, there's no shoulder, it's pretty dangerous. I know a lot of things. Oh, I mentioned the culverts. There's a couple in our neighborhood that should be fixed. So yeah. The card things is kind of hard because it's very different, some of those are different than what we have, but that's a way to think a little bit differently.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it much. Last month we were mostly focused on the downtown corridor area. And it was, I think it's in the very early stages where planning department basically handles it and kind of brings the ideas that the neighborhoods kind of came up with to the planning board down the road. I think IB puts together kind of some suggestions based on everything. We'll present them again like she did with the downtown area.
Yeah. The reason I think it's important for people to participate is that it is the community and not somebody else, saying, hey, this is what you guys should do here.
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of new members on the planning board. I think there's only 3 of us that are not brand new this term. So there's fresh ideas obviously coming in from that, and you hear a lot around town like, I can't believe the planning board did this or did that. Well, it all stems from the existing zoning and all the existing regs, and when people follow those, that's that's all good. That's what they get, even if you don't like it. So this is the opportunity to help guide developers and development and any just redevelopment towards a vision for the town that you'd like to see. So it definitely, public input is very, very helpful. Especially when you sit there debating, like, how close should we allow people to build houses to the road? You know, how close should we allow them to build them to each other? You know, like, and you get 8 people sitting in a room versus the people that actually live in those neighborhoods, you know, dictating how they would like to see it grow and develop or change or not change at all. So,
Any other questions for Jeff? Comments? Thank you. Thanks for letting us know what it felt like, too, from the participant viewpoint, Ellen.
yeah.
Do we have any updates? Have Zach and Julie gotten to talk about energy and environment representation or non-representation or de-representation?
Not yet. I still need to look through your email, but I'm probably gonna have to pass on it. I feel a little at capacity, just based on the fact that I haven't even had a chance to look at your
Yeah.
email for now.
Sounds like
But
an
maybe at a
indicator.
future time. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll put out an APB for that. All right. Do you have anything from Sam about Riverfront Advisory?
No, but I think that chapter also is almost done.
Oh.
The planning, maybe you guys are gonna review that.
Last month we didn't even talk about
Any of them?
master plan at
No?
all. Yeah, it was all on zoning and then,
No, I don't know.
I think at this meeting is when we're gonna schedule additional meetings for that purpose. I thought we were actually gonna do that last month, but we didn't, so. I think 'cause all the new members, we wanted people to like take a month and kind of think about, you know, when they can kind of commit additional time.
Gotcha. I did get an email from Emma about her role as school liaison. She can't be here tonight, so we should send her some good vibes. She has a very big test tomorrow, so she's home tonight getting ready for that. And as we near the end of the school year, we should be talking with her and see what we feel about, or what does she feel about, or how to continue with the school liaison representative. We'll see her Saturday morning, so maybe somebody sees her, we can ask her how her test went, or don't ask how the test went, based on your vibe and body language, I guess. But we're rooting for you anyway, Emma, and we'll see how school liaison evolves. Any other updates? Any other things that people wanted to report on from what they're doing or what's going on? All right. Anything from land conservation? Or no more to report from either of those things, Ellen?
Yeah, we should talk about Rosa a little bit. So we went over it pretty well last meeting, we had the map and so forth. The budget that we had, actually had, LCHIP at, I think, LCHIP requested 80,000. And Ben Engel, who's working on the budget and helping us with this, said it needed to be 75,000, and the reason less is because LCHIP only paid 50% of the project costs. And they were only asking for the Durham side, so we can't add in the easement. And because Ben didn't think they would go for the whole property, because one's a fee, one more, but anyway, he just thought we could only go to LCHIP for the one. So anyway, yeah, so he had to drop that a little bit. So, last meeting, we said, some combination of 140,000 warrant and around 15,000, so 15,000 from the conservation fund. I think that's kind of where we were. But by reducing the LCHIP, it's actually $15,480. So we need a little bit more from the conservation fund than we approved last month. And we would still be at 140,000 for the warrant article next spring. So this is just the approvals that are going into these grant applications, right? We're not really, we're certainly not approving the warrant article because that'll be the voters. But I think it will help us to approve, since $15,480 is going into the grant applications, that we should probably approve that amount, because then they can say, the Conservation Commission has already approved this amount
Yeah,
to go
already
toward it.
committed,
So,
yeah.
I know it was a little more, some we wanted to try and get it less, but most people you talk to in the grant world and Ben itself say, you have to show some commitment from the Conservation Fund since we have money in that account.
So what's the figure again?
So, what we're looking at in the budget is from the Conservation Fund would be $15,480.
$480.
I think it was 15,000, yeah. I think it was 25,000. So we reduced it to 15 and we jiggered the warrant article up higher. That's what we decided at an earlier meeting. So we had to increase the Conservation Fund a little bit. So I just want to make sure everybody's okay because we voted,
Do you need a new motion?
I think we need to make a new motion and maybe we just say the motion for the $15,480 that will be in the
I
grant.
move to approve $15,480 for the Rosa project.
And I just, I just wanted to add, I know last time we were kind of having a discussion too about like what is normal to give, like what do towns kind of support projects like this around, and it just occurred to me, like in my work that I've come across, the supporting towns for Bear Pod do give upwards of 20,000 to support projects like this, so I think that 15,480, like I think that sounds good for, and this is our own property, right,
yeah.
coming in under us too, so I think that I would second too on
That's what I was
on
gonna
that
say. Are
point
you
too.
making a second?
Yes. I wanted to add, just thinking back to our conversation last week, but yes.
With your discussion.
Yes.
okay. So, having heard a first, a second, and a discussion, can we vote to approve? Or Jeff, you have a question, another question?
I just have a little bit of discussion.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we need to make the motion as an amendment to the previous motion, so don't include 15,000 and then 15,480 more?
30,480?
It seems like we're.
Yeah.
So moved.
Yeah.
I'll change my motion
That sounds great.
to make it.
I'll second, yes, I'll second the amendment motion.
All right, so for clarification for parties listening to this tape, Jeff made a good point. We are undoing the motion we just heard from Tom with Julie's second and conversation. So the new motion involves making 15,480 what our financial commitment is for this project. So the same first motion from Tom and second from Julie.
I would like to amend last month's motion.
Okay, hold on, can I interrupt you, because I think I
Sure.
made a mistake.
Thank you.
Looks like last
You wanted to take-
month, we approved up to $150,480, and so we were thinking 140,000, possibly warrant article, so we were only at $10,480, so it's my mistake. So we actually, we could just amend it, let's try this.
By adding $5,880.
Yeah,
Just fine.
yeah, we add 5,000 to the motion from the Conservation Fund, yeah.
Just
that's-
5,000?
Yeah, because that actually makes sense, because we took away 5,000 mail chips, so we added it back, so, sorry, I just had my numbers a little bit down.
My motion is so amended.
Okay,
Do we have a second?
everybody clear?
We
Yes.
have a
Yeah.
third second.
All right, I think I got it, everybody else got it?
Okay.
Thank you for that, Jeff.
All right, no further discussion about this? All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous, thank you.
Thank you. So just time-wise, so Bart and I are going to LRAC on May 20th, and we're asking $100,000 from LRAC, so it's a big ask. So we put together, summary sheet, basically what you saw, but we've added some more stuff on maps, and we have a PowerPoint, and just gonna make the case the best we can. This is a really good project. So I'll send you the updated summary sheet that we put together when we get that ready, probably next week. So that's May 20th. I do think they make the decision right away, but I'm not entirely sure about that. And then LTIP application is somewhere in mid-June, I think. Mid-June. And CELT will be submitting that for us. So once those two things are done, then we'd start looking at the other grants. So we have Moose Grant, which is in the fall, and there's another private foundation. Potentially apply to, and Great Bay Partnership is also in there. LROC will be a big one. That'll be before this. We're assuming for some amount, but
Shoot high.
shoot high. We're gonna shoot high, because the less we get from these sources, the more we have to bump up the warrant article. But it's a beautiful property. I was out there last week just to do some reconnaissance, looking for birds and plants, and it's a really diverse property for being 40 acres. Really nice, pretty tremendous work. Really nice.
Thank you.
And the Mitchell, I know they're in the midst of starting to review the actual conservation easement deeds for fish and game. So that's moving along, so all good news there. Hopefully we wrapped up in 2 months.
Did you, I know you told me about those 2 more parcels from South, I don't know if you told the rest of the
Right,
commission
good
too.
point, yeah, so, I don't have a map, but if you go out Neal Mill Road to the Piscasset Greenway, and the landowner who lives there, Joffrey Barnett, he bought his property from Jean Silverman. And she had a couple more parcels that she did not convey during that sale back in Joffrey. She passed away a few years ago and her land was in probate. So one of the parcels is what we call the Schneer easement. That was her father, and we hold that easement. So it's like 5 acres. It's at the corner of Old Lee and Neal Mill, and it abuts the Greenway. And then the other one is to the west, right side if you're going in, and it's actually back in. It's kind of like it's landlocked. And Fish and Game holds the easement on that, and that was also in Jean's estate. So the Southeast Land Trust worked with the probate and have now acquired both those properties in fee. And so we will now still monitor the Schneer easement, but it will become part of the Piscasset Greenway, so I think they're now over 500 acres. So that was really great. So that, they were already conserved, but it's still nice to add it to an entity, that can
Cleans it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reminder.
A couple of times we've used the word warrant article in and out of amendments or motions or whatnot. Brian, this is a favor to you as the town council rep, and I know we're only May, but can you get the template or the timeline of when warrant articles are drafted and written and submitted for approval, and then the legal team goes over the wording, and then it gets ready to be on a ballot?
I don't know those off the top of my head.
Oh, I
but
wouldn't expect you to. That's why I said it's a favor for you to
yes,
try
I
and
will-
find
yeah,
out.
I'll get the timeline details for warrant article.
Yeah, try that, please. Also, I know, again, I know it's only May, but there's probably a standard calendar template for budget submissions. Can you please provide us with that? Because I know a couple of times it's been tough for us to meet certain deadlines. And I think with budget considerations, we really need to be real clear about what we want to include, omit, ask for.
So the last thing you wanted was a budget form, or?
A budget, what could the timeline be for
For the
when
budget.
items are to be submitted for consideration? by the
Okay.
budget? Again, I know the caveat is we're only May, but
Yes.
who knows what the morrow
All right.
brings, and it's nice to have these things be standard things we can work on our
All right,
agenda.
I will get the timeline for warrant articles and the timeline for budget.
Thanks. So it's not one favor, I lied, it's 2
Yeah.
favors.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I noticed that.
Yes,
Not the record so still.
yeah. A little something I learned from teenagers back in the day. All right. And I'm gonna borrow $20, the car, have a sleepover, and you're buying us pizza, right? After all the kids coming over, right? All right. Turtle Fest planning, updates, requests, needs, wants, input from us. I am curious about a few things about it, and maybe it's just the normal nervousness thing. I know Ellen had taken on going out to get the provisions, the snacks, the goodies, so thank you for taking that on, saving the receipt and submitting the receipt. Tomorrow, good. Yeah, this is only Thursday, tomorrow. And we know that Ellen, well, you can say this, talk about that you met at the high school, and what's the high school
Yeah.
obligation or commitment, or what are we thanking them for?
So Bart and I met on Monday or Tuesday, whatever, and fabulous. I don't know if you've ever worked with the school people. I have not. David Riley is their facilities manager, and he's got some staff, young staff, and the front office people were fabulous. So they have a clipboard, and they have all the stuff laid out, and have everything laid out for us. So we're using the entrance when you walk in, the main entrance, for where the display will be. Tables, they'll set up the tables. And then you go in, so if you've been like the master plan and whatnot, you go in. We'll have food and drink on the right, and on the left and the back will be where the library folks are going to be for the children's activities, and then speakers will be in front. And they did that for the master plan, it worked fine, having the kids' stuff, children's stuff in the same room as the speakers, I think that'll be fine. So they're gonna have everything set up totally, so all we have to do, really, when we show up is, we have a display. There'll be we have 6 entities with displays, Conservation Commission. I actually have the display for Nature Groupie because their staff can't be there. The high school club's gonna have a display, West Environmental is gonna have a display, Wright Pierce, and Southeast Land Trust.
Oh, that's a great spectrum of things.
Yeah, and there may be others that show up with them, I don't know, but anyway, they'll have all the tables set up, and then we'll need to set the food up, so I think we can get there by 7:30, but it doesn't start till 9:30, people will certainly start coming by 9, so if folks are able to help and wanna come, say by 8, I think that's probably gonna be plenty of time. And then, so sadly, it's gonna rain.
2.5 inches of rain coming starting now till then, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say if the bird, I'm gonna still go, because how will we cancel it? I wanna make sure I'm there, but once I'm cleared, I'll just head over to the high school. This is my 3rd bird walk to be canceled this spring.
Jinx.
The sad part is the birding's incredible this spring.
Oh, it's so good right now, yeah.
It's amazing.
Warblers are
It's so
everywhere.
sad. Yeah, it's one of the probably best views. And the I don't know if everybody's noticed, but the flowers and the
Oh, yeah.
stuff is just
It's gorgeous.
Red-winged
out there.
blackbirds are
great for
going
them,
up like
but
crazy.
us. You know.
Why do you think that is, do you know?
This must be the moisture and the temperatures. It's just, I mean, for us, it seems like it's going weird, right? I feel
Yeah.
like this year's been weird, but.
It seemed like it was a really slow start, and then it's just like, boom, everything's here.
Lots of things are overlapping.
Yeah, yeah.
The moisture is
Our
good
jumpers
for
are fun.
plants. I mean, it just luscious and
And
good.
the last 6 were those extremely sunny, warm days.
Yeah.
We were
Like,
technically
cool rain.
still in a
Yeah.
drought, right?
Right.
Moderate,
With all this
yeah.
rain?
Well, at the weekend, we were in a moderate drought. Now we might, probably
Yeah.
aren't, but yeah, it's funny to think about that. So, I'm not the commission side of it.
A big thing about drought is about how much snowfall you get during winter, because then
Right.
that's what, so we did get a few big storms, but it wasn't,
Right.
well, you know how it was. It was mostly
Yeah.
there for like a day. So it's more about that refilling, the river and such. than-
Also, it rains
Underground.
too hard, too fast, it just runs off.
Oh,
There's no
yeah,
soaking
it's just,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
And on the topic of birds in general, we had ever so casually talked about cleaning out the bird nest boxes over at Piscassic. Is it too late? Should it happen?
It might be too late at this point.
It's probably too late now, right?
Yeah.
it's casual.
Note to self.
Fall. That should be a fall thing, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
Or like first thing in the
They
spring.
start
but,
nesting
yeah.
in February.
Yeah, they start early. I think it's best to clean those out in fall, but
I haven't been there actually in a shy month, so I don't, I know it's too late now, but.
yeah.
Okay, note to self, while we're busy hearing from warrant article calendar, budget calendar, put bird nest clean out on calendar.
I'm gonna put it down there.
Thank you.
Just, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
Turtle
one
Fest.
more thing, on Turtle Fest, so,
We have a couple more on Turtle Fest. Go
yeah,
for
so
it.
we're set with the speakers, and then we'll be done by noonish. And the restaurant, you guys did a great job, the restaurant coupons are all set, Bridget's going to bring those. If there's anybody who's not going on the field trip in the afternoon and can take the display, I know, are you gonna do you wanna take the display to the Stone Church, or what's your schedule? We need to get the display over to the Stone Church.
I'm gonna be running back and forth to my 4-month-old puppy all day,
Yeah.
so.
So if anybody's around between 12 and 2
Yeah.
and has time to take the display over there, it's just the board just have to take it over.
I can take that responsibility.
Okay, cool, yeah, you can just, and Ben will be there, so Ben, just ask for Ben.
Pat.
Pat, sorry.
It's okay.
Ben,
Yes.
Pat.
Pat will be there, yeah, he's getting there at noon, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Pat Benjamin, right, that's why I called him Ben. Okay, and so Lauren's gonna bring the t-shirts left over at the library, and Bridget's bringing the t-shirts left over.
From Town Hall, all right. Cool. Anything else? Any other ideas, topics, questions about Turtle Fest? Any other gaps in our thinking?
I saved the turtle this weekend, so.
I saved one too today.
It's really cool at Squamscott River, 108, by the ramp,
Yeah.
the boat ramp. There was a female sniper was trying to get back to the water,
Oh.
and 2 of us stopped. It was
Oh,
nice,
that's
somebody else
great.
stopped also and got her back in the lane.
Good.
But we had to step over a possum that didn't make it. to
Oh,
get
Oh.
there.
poor thing.
Oh,
Yeah, I helped this spotted turtle today. They're on the move.
I think you're all set on provisions and know what you're getting
Yeah,
for Saturday?
yeah, we'll be fine. I have
Yeah.
no idea how many people are coming, so.
I know,
so,
it'll
you
be
know,
the big question.
It's a random thing, but I think,
At least we're all indoors, you know,
That's
for
the
the
nice thing.
bulk of it.
Yeah.
And then maybe the rain will be light Saturday afternoon for.
Yeah.
just for us to
walk.
migrate? That's all.
Yeah,
well, it's a wetland walk, so.
I know. So will they still set the traps in the rain?
Yeah, so he's gonna set the traps tomorrow, I think.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what he said.
very cool.
Thank
Well,
you, Josh.
maybe the rain will bring good luck for little turtles. I'm trying to rack my brain for anything else, but yeah, aside from, I'll definitely still show up for my bird walk, and if anyone's there, I'll show them the new boardwalk, and
Yeah.
we'll just listen to what's out there. And I'll see y'all at the high school after.
And you had everything you needed for,
Yeah.
you're happy with the display?
Yeah, thank you. Chris made some photos, and we put the well, you'll see them, they're the 4 bookmarks, that we made them full size, and so those will be panels, and then we have a Turtle Fest one, and then the photos, and then we'll have all the bookmarks to that.
Nice. Nice.
And t-shirts to sell.
T-shirts to sell.
Yeah, so we'll have a food table, a t-shirt table, and display table. Sounds
All right.
good.
Projects, land stewardship. Anything here? Where are we with Mark West?
Mostly done. He's at some point still will do a walk for us. We just haven't had time to really schedule that. But Bart is working on we have to send out letters to the abutters when you change the zoning or the update the prime wetlands map. So he's working on that. So that's basically all in the planning office to do that. And, yeah, just waiting for that process, and it's basically in the hands of Bart and the planning board.
And the planning board. Another item was, a standing item had been Wigan Farm, and talking about when was the boardwalk replacement project going to happen and how it got postponed a couple of times, which triggered my memory about Wigan Farm. We have made a walk led by Dr. Matt Tarr from UNH. And in the course of talking about that, he went from what kind of birds nest where was kind of one of the thrust of his talk, but also looking at invasive plants, and he was very calming about don't worry about the couple of autumn olives out there, that they do provide a service. But thinking about that reminded me that we had talked about the habitual mowing pathway that happens out there from our DPW and Karen's crew. And I was wondering, Ellen, what your thought was about revisiting where that gets mowed. Is it going to be mowed in a place, and then we hope their second mow goes in comparable but different, not exact pathway? We had talked about that before.
Yeah, I think it's more disturbing to move the trail, because I've been out there during the it's the bobolinks that are nesting in the fields. And
Yeah.
they're pretty habituated to that trail where it is, and they just go to be like right there. So I don't think they're bothered by the existing trail, and I think if we moved it, we'd just be moving it to some other place where they already nest. And they mow the field late fall, so they're not affecting the birds, so it's just the trail.
So what was the thinking behind moving it? You worried about erosion?
No, it wasn't erosion so much. It just came up as a topic. I mean, it was just
Oh, I
the kind
see.
of thing that he put out there, and we
see.
talked about the bobolinks, but at the same time,
But if
there
you're trying
was-
to be out in a grassland habitat, you don't want to keep mowing the more and more of the habitat.
Oh, I understand that. It was
Yeah,
just a thing he
okay.
put out there, and I didn't know
No, but
where
it's
were we in that
interesting.
process. And then we saw yellow rocket, and we saw a couple of other plants that were interesting, not interesting, surprising,
Yeah.
not surprising. All right, so the bobolinks are fine,
And the boardwalk is done.
and the boardwalk's done. So, message to Joe Public out there, go visit Wigan Farm. You're gonna like it. What can you tell us, or do you mind bringing us up to date about the vernal pools, the capstone project, big night, those kind of things, Zach?
Yeah, so
Thank you.
the UNH students working on this project presented a week or two ago. As a refresher, this is a project to help map where vernal pools are in town, and based on that, understand where salamander, frog, and toad migrations occur, so that we can organize volunteers to help them migrate across roads and not get run over during their annual migration. So the students, there were two teams. One group was mapping where vernal pools are in town, and add anything I miss, Alan, but basically that team shared that good news was a lot of vernal pools are in conservation areas already.
Oh, good.
There were a few locations where they identified maybe sites where crossings would happen. And we went out and visited one of those locations and kind of identified that it wasn't really a crossing location. So they have those maps. There's still a need to go, like, next year likely when it's happening again, identify some of the other, or check some of the other spots and see if crossings are actually happening. Before I talk about the other team, is anything I missed there?
That's good. Yeah.
So we got good maps of where vernal pools are, still need to like identify exactly where the crossings are happening. So the other team was basically figuring out, or putting together a strategy for organizing volunteers, educating people on like what this is all about, and creating like a database to store volunteer information so that in the future we can easily get volunteers out there. So they put together a lot of great resources. They put together a community guide that explains what this is all about, tells people how to prepare for going out and volunteering and helping salamanders. So basically all those materials are ready. We just need to identify the right spots where volunteers can really be used. So I spoke with the professor that runs the program, and she's happy to have students next year kind of continue on with the work. So hopefully next year we'll actually identify a spot and do some more kind of piloting with volunteers so that the following year we can kind of really be ready to go.
Really solid.
Yeah.
To stage it like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, just add, apparently Fish and Game is working on some modeling for vernal pools, kind of with Pete Steckler, who is the advisor, the GIS advisor to the students on the vernal pool project. And it was pretty complicated, pretty technical, and so they weren't able to fully utilize some of the tools that Pete was thinking, but it sounds like Fish and Game has been working with some, I think, Plymouth State professor, and so we may actually have a more detailed map next year that we could use. And students could, go back out and verify and use the form to verify them. So instead of trying to map them, which is the really difficult part, they could actually go out and just assess them. Part of their potential project.
Have you seen the signs on 152 in Lee, I think, that say salamander crossing tonight? It says like, stay home, save lives, or something like that. Yeah, I keep seeing them on my way to Northwood, and I'm like, we need those in Newmarket, they're cool. And I had a question, like, did a big night happen? Like, this spring was so weird, I didn't know if anyone got out there. I drove home a couple times and saw a few frogs, but I never like saw a bigger night kind of happen this spring. It seemed like a slow trickle.
Yeah, I went out twice. The one time to check that spot, there was nothing. I don't know if that was just because if there wasn't really vernal pools there, or if it just wasn't good conditions. But then I went in another night and to, Bay Road, where there were a good amount last year, but again, I saw like nothing. So I don't know if it was just weird, like it had snowed a few days before, but it was all melted, so.
Yeah, and I mean, the signs just went out on 152, so then I was wondering if it maybe things started moving now, but the spring has been different.
That's good to know about the signs, because I feel like we could have the students talk to Lee's Conservation Commission and hear how they got those there, and if they've been
Where specifically is
successful.
it? Do you remember?
Right, so you cross 125 onto 156? 152?
Yeah.
And it's just after Covered Call Farm, or like that area right there. There's like the river, they've been doing, it's a one-lane bridge in that big open field. It's kind of like right there, yeah.
Is that still Lee, or is that north?
Nottingham, it might be Nottingham.
I think it's Nottingham.
The
It
line's
could be,
really close right
it's
there.
right there, yeah.
There's
It's on the, so it might be Nottingham,
Because
yeah.
Nottingham has had some really cute little ones, and I think they've just upped the ante there a little bit.
Yeah.
Nice. So,
I know, I didn't
there
find
you
any
got homework
salamanders this
too.
year.
Ash Swamp Road, Turtle Crossing, Aquatic Passage, any updates from Jeff?
For me,
Notice
I
anything?
don't have any except just a local report, if you.
That's what I want. I wanted anecdotally, because last year,
Okay.
remember you had the pictures in the
Yeah.
buckets? I want to know how those buckets are going. Your wife had those little colorful crayfish.
Oh, the invasive
I
crayfish.
had one of those in my driveway.
Already this year?
Days ago.
I haven't seen one yet this year. The, so,
Crazy.
I will say that, I accidentally posted that, the, that the painted turtles hatch this, so painted turtles don't hatch in this, they hatch in the fall, but they don't always leave the nest until the spring. So we have painted turtles going down our driveway like crazy right now, which is great unless you come home in a pouring rainstorm at like 8 o'clock at night when it's dark and you run over a couple yourself. So, yeah, so my daughter comes up the driveway with 2 smushed ones in and was like, you did this last night. Was it worth going out to dinner, you know? It's like, I don't know, I was hungry.
It's not a conservation commission, this is a support group.
I know. And then, so the road was closed for a while,
I was
Which
kind of
was-
hoping it would stay closed.
which was fantastic, right? It was closed, but one larger painted turtle was hit while the road was closed, and then one was hit after it opened. So we've only seen painted turtles and a large snapping turtle in the water. So we've only seen those 3 larger turtles so far this year.
I know last year we agreed to park in your driveway and help turtles cross at high traffic times. I don't know if it comes to that again, yeah.
Yeah, it would be pretty soon if it,
Yeah.
if it did,
Yeah, well,
within the next
We were
month.
trying to
Yeah.
help the spotted across Bald Hill
Oh, nice.
today, and unfortunately, last week, a very large one was crushed.
Large spotted.
On a straightaway. I was like, come on. They're moving
Yeah.
during the day.
People just aren't looking.
Yeah, I mean, even when the road's closed, it's, and so, yeah, we were gonna call the town actually, because the signs just got put up like last week. So right after, 2 got hit, and then we were like, Shannon's like, you should call, and then the signs were up that day, actually, so, thank you DPW for putting the signs up.
Yeah.
But I do not have updates on like funding. I know last month when we talked about it, there was a couple of potential things there that Ellen maybe mentioned.
I think they're still doing the planning with the DNC grant, and I haven't heard anything negative about the other grants. It's still in the works, but one of them, they're both, one's federal money, so I don't know exactly.
Well, anecdotally, I can tell you compliments because I still remember quite fondly your son bringing to attention to the rec department on teen hikes downtown not to feed the ducks.
Oh, yes.
So you're doing very well raising conservationists and people quite aware of habitats and wildlife and whatnot. Yeah, he was offended that kids had popped in, that they were allowed to pop into Morelli's and buy bread, and they were making bread balls for ducks, and that was, he explained why we don't do that, so. Yeah. Yeah, let him know. And he's probably thinking, like, look, I'm a freshman in college now, like,
Oh,
forget.
high school.
Oh, I know, but I mean, it'll go on and on, because I'll remember it forever, and he has the right to say, look at Coley, look at Coley. But it was impressive to have somebody speak up for don't feed the ducks the way he did. Events, outreach, and education. Okay. Heron Point has many bad luck days with weather as the
Okay,
Wigan
got
Bridge
rained out
did
too,
there.
that was a rainy day, but, and we had like 15 people signed up, it's too bad. But, we're just gonna do it on May 23rd, which is when we have Newmarket Cares Day with high school students. So I'll put it back up on Nature Group. and other
Put it back up.
people can Join. The other good stuff is, so if you remember, if you're familiar with Heron Point Sanctuary, the town owns a piece on the, northeast side of the Meadow Drive. Nobody goes over there, there's no trail, and it's kind of hard to get to. But there's a little piece that comes out, essentially it's one of the lots that the town got as part of this Heron Point Sanctuary. There's a little shed that the community has there, and we agreed in our conversations about the boundary and cleaning up the boundary that we would let them keep the shed there unless they ever have to replace it, then they should move it. But they store a mower, and they do mow that spot, which is not necessarily bad because there's a lot of invasives, and I think if it wasn't mowed, it would be invasive, and it provides, if we ever need to get in there, it provides, we can actually drive in there. Farther in, there was some junk around, and I asked them to clean that up. There's also, if you're walking further there in the woods, there's an old cap to a truck, and a lot of stuff in it, tires, computers.
Oh, man.
Hard to know if it was there before the town got the property. I mean, it looks really old, but I finally, and it's like there's a bunch of other junk in there. It doesn't look like there's anything new, so I don't think anybody's dumping new stuff, but I asked Rick at DPW, and they said they would. I said, we probably should clean it up. So they're, at some point, clean it up. Thank you, DPW, they're awesome and out and do stuff. We have talked to the community about, because we did the boundary survey, and we talked to them about, again, there's some structures that are over the line, but we never did a baseline when we got the property, so we don't know if they were over the line when we acquired the property. So we said, if there's structure, like there's one house that's actually slightly over the line, and we said, well, that's fine, but if you ever have to rebuild or move, or rebuild these structures, you just need to push them back over. They're not very far. And then some people just had some stuff, and the woman and her mother who live right by the entrance have been very sweet, and they had a bunch of stuff, and they just needed it carried to the road. So their guy could pick it up in a dumpster or whatever, hauler. We were going to do it on that rainy day. I was going to have volunteers do it, and it was going to pour, and so then my husband and I went out to do the pour and stuff to move it, and she was very appreciative. So they're very, it's very collaborative, which is really nice. So otherwise, actually I looked at here, and there's not a lot to do in terms of cleanup because nobody can drive in there anymore, so it doesn't seem like it's getting as much use. Although, I think people are driving all over the place out there looking to get in. And so they're going down people's driveways, and there's another house back and so forth, so that's a bit of a problem.
Is it gonna open?
No, probably it will not open.
With all this nice cooperation between.
Well, it's not that, it's just the people that smashed the gate. And so it costs a lot to fix the gate, and no signage or anything stops people from smashing the gate.
Right, but there doesn't have to be a gate.
Yeah, what if they're...
And I understand, I was here when we put the gate in,
Yeah.
because they wanted the gate in because people were going out there late at night and
Yeah.
stuff, right? So then we put the gate in, but,
Even with the gate, they were having problems with people going out there.
oh, so they were, okay.
Yeah, I
maybe-
think it's more of a problem than we think in terms of people going out there, and
I was hoping it was like a generational thing, and it's been like 10 years since we put that gate in probably,
Yeah.
so.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it was on a PD flight plan more without a gate or
Yeah.
something. I guess we're ideological.
Yeah, I
about
mean, let's a little time go by and see, but Rick Malasky doesn't want to open the gate because it's just really expensive to repair the gate. And I think they've spent thousands of dollars to repair it at different times. Because what happens is people go in and then they don't know how to get out. You're supposed to go up really close to get out. So they drive or they go the other way and try to smash it to get in places.
Even though there's a sign that says, hey, it's
Yeah, yeah,
closed
yeah.
and you're trapped,
Right.
call.
Yeah.
Do you think the town or somebody needs to put up a sign, even if it's just for like a month or two or something like that, at the road entrance?
I thought about that too, like.
It says like
there's no-
Heron Point access closed or something.
Especially now with good fair weather coming in daylight so much longer. It might reach a big audience who is trying,
Yeah.
good, better, and differently, to go in there.
Yeah, because it could be
Might
the
be.
same person trying every couple
Yeah.
of weeks. Or
Yeah,
every
yeah,
week
I know.
or something. It's still not open.
Yeah, I know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Even if-
No, but I thought about that too, because people drive, we don't want people driving in there, but they're gonna drive in, and then they find that the gate's closed, so then they're still kind of
Exactly.
bothering the community and all that stuff.
Yeah, so, or if something went in the town newsletter perhaps that goes out, at least it'll reach some people that says the access is closed.
I agree, we should put it in, but I would also think people who smash gates are probably not the same who read
Read,
the
yeah.
newsletters. Yeah.
No, but.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't
Yeah.
trying to, yeah,
No,
but,
yeah, I completely agree with you
Yeah,
on that one.
yeah. No, like, it just seems like a
Now.
specific kind of person causing a specific
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
problem.
Yeah, they read the
They're
newsletter.
not reading
looking
the
for-
There's some MIT grads that have put things in newsletters, so let's be
I'm-
careful about
I'm willing to bet that there's more than a fair bit of those are like teens who went out there to drink, got to the things like, if I call, my parents will find out, so we're just going through the gate. That's probably why it would be one of my guesses.
Yeah, 100%. I was thinking more of like, I'm about to leave my house on Ash Swamp Road, and I drive all the way up to Heron Point
Yeah.
and find out the gate's closed. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
man, I just drove
Oh,
over.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we
So
could-
just informing.
Oh, warning them before they drive to the, okay. sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
or
sorry.
if you do happen to get there, then you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is gonna be closed. I won't try again tomorrow, it's permanently closed or something.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if there's a sign hanging off the gate that says
There is,
permanently
but then
closed.
still, people are driving.
You
all
still
over town.
got there, and you still have to go through the
Yeah.
community to get out, yeah.
It does seem like a big loss for the town in terms of like recreation opportunity from like a
Huge.
few
Yeah.
bad
It's really big.
actors.
But in some ways, it was a mistake in terms of how it was given to the town, because there wasn't, that access itself is an easement, you know, the first little bit. And so nobody ever really thought that through, I don't think.
The town owns access to that road, but not where they want it, right? Because that parcel wraps around and touches the road.
Yeah, but you can't,
But
there's
yeah,
no way to,
exactly.
it's all wet over there, there's no
Exactly,
way.
there's no way to get to where
Yeah.
where the town wanted
So we-
to improve it, so they
Yeah.
gotten access to where the
I mean,
logical place
it
to
should have
put
come
it.
off, because people, it was for tax, they gave it, the town gave the back taxes, but they live where John Steer lives, and so the access should have come in from the road. That would have been a good idea.
Well, in all fairness, I will say, let's not forget people like David Carroll, New Hampshire's own conservationist, who says, when you get a piece of conservation property, it's not for us to access, it's to conserve it for those things that were already living and growing there. So we can call this our homage to the David Carrolls and the other side of looking at conservation and who builds what for whom and saves land for what purposes. It is kind of neat to see all the turkey vultures that go from there and then across and then up and back to where I live and whatnot, so. But it's a problem that really should merit some other talking about. How far before it could there be a sign that says, don't even?
Yeah.
Newmarket Cares Day, you already mentioned, Ellen, that's the Heron Point cleanup gets bumped up to Newmarket Cares Day. Turtle Fest, had time to think since we all spoke about it, nothing else coming up for that. The library, the book club at the library is going well, it continues this month, and it's, I'll report on it and let you know what the books are and whatnot. The first book is going to be Amy Tan's what's it called? It's essays that Amy Tan has written about and sketched in. It's a beautiful book anyway. That's the first one coming up. So although it's not officially a Conservation Commission thing, the library is giving the space to have the core group and anybody that wants to join continue to meet there. So that's about that. And the display, my bad, has been on hold, but I had a couple of revelations about what it's going to look like. So we'll get photos from Turtle Fest printed up and retro, the people can see who missed it, what it was, and then they can learn more about what we are doing as far as education and outreach goes. So it's postponed, but not forgotten by any means. So for the greater good here, does anybody have anything similar to how town council does final thoughts? What do you call it?
Closing comment.
Closing comment. Yeah, final thoughts is like an old Saturday Night Live thing, right? Wasn't that final thoughts? Closing comments. Does anybody have something to share or to mention or going on?
If anyone here does Turtle Fest, and then next weekend still has energy, Newmarket Cemetery Day will be the 17th. We'll have volunteers show up at Pickering Cemetery on Ash Swamp Road at 9. We're going to pull up some brush, pull up some invasive plants, trim some stuff. And that'll go from 2, and then at 6, and this is open to everyone in the public, at the Mill Space, we're going to have some pizza and a historic presentation by the Newmarket Historical Society about Pickering Cemetery and the people in it. The Pickering family who apparently was very involved in the American Revolution. So, if you can come help us during the day with the volunteer work, great. And even if you can't, come to Mill Space at night and learn a little bit more about local history and impress your friends.
What time is the Mill Space presentation?
The Mill Space presentation starts at 6:45 and the doors open at 6.
At 6, okay. Good to know. I had one more question about that. Oh, do you know what are your main target invasives at the Pickering?
I don't know them off the top of my head. I know what one of them looks like. Looks like a long red weed with like little thorns on it, and apparently goes deep underground, so you have to pull it up. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but
That's okay, not to put you on the spot.
yeah, but yeah, it's some sort of like prickly plant that sticks out and then needs to get pulled out. So bring gloves.
One of those in every crowd, those
Yeah.
prickly plants that
I did
stick up.
invasives as well.
There's a lot of knotweed over there. Sides of Ash Swamp Road, especially in front of that cemetery. Somebody did something to it a couple of years ago. That
Yeah,
beat
no,
it
I-
back a little bit last year, but.
No, it was here where we had the presentation on knotweed, right? And like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a sticky wicket, so make sure people are not bringing even the least little bit out of some,
1 inch.
Yeah.
One number.
yeah.
I'll make sure no one tries to bring back a branch or,
Spread it.
I mean, it spreads like,
yeah,
it's like a Twilight Zone character.
I remove it in front of my house every year, and I dig out, and then gently dig out, so I try to get as much of the root system as possible, and then fold it up into a black plastic bag, because if you chop it up, it's
Yeah.
every little chopped piece that lands on the ground will turn into another.
Oh, it's really
No,
crazy.
it breaks through concrete. I remember that from the presentation. Someone built an entire house
That it
on
goes-
top of like a knotweed plant, like concrete, and it then just started growing up through the cracks in the concrete, broke the cracks, started growing through the walls. They had to tear the whole house down and start.
In Great Britain and in northern Germany, if your property has ever had knotweed on it, you have to disclose it on a realtor form when you go to sell the property. Yeah, it's just remarkable. I guess it's nice that a thing that uses chlorophyll is going to last after nuclear war.
No, that is the area where the variegated one is. It's right across the
yes.
street.
So it's already mutated? Ugh.
There's one variegated one that comes back every year, and that's what he was saying at the presentation, that somebody must have done that. I don't know, but there's a bunch of it, and then there's one that's variegated that comes back every single year in the exact same spot. So, it doesn't seem to be spreading variegated, I guess is my point there. Well, it all spreads, the variegated is like one plant,
Interesting.
very peculiar,
Speaking of spreading, I feel like it's definitely spreading along our roads.
very much so.
And we do need to at some point tackle that because it's getting spread by the roadside mowing.
I did try to.
It's actually not, you're not supposed to mow it, so it's,
Yeah, we did try to get DPW to do something about it, like, I don't know, 12 years ago, 8 years ago. And we're like, you need to go along and like dig up a lot of soil probably and take it away. Because it was just getting a foothold on Ashwamp
we're
Road.
actually not supposed to mow it. It's
Right, oh, yeah.
On the roadside, we're
Yeah.
supposed to go around it, but it's getting mowed.
Yeah, they mow it every year. We don't let them, well, I shouldn't say we don't let them. We
Field sims, too.
request they don't mow in front of our house and they don't. So I know that they're willing to modify mowing patterns at request, I guess. I don't know if they're just being nice to us, but the same person I think does it every year. Now they even know we don't have to put the signs out.
It's so,
Because the plants do a really good job of sucking up all the water in the ditch, so the ditch doesn't flood even though it's not mowed.
Is this something, remember by now, it's probably 20 years, but up 93, remember they were mowing like, and before we even knew how bad it was, and so they mowed it and it spread, and it gets carried up in the little tines and just spread up to Plymouth before people knew what was going on. But is there any talk ever through the state invasive plants commission about a statewide plan? Like, you know how they have the training for DPWs about salt on the roads and brine and all that? Is there some kind of a plan, you think, ever in place about knotweed?
well, there isn't knotweed plan for like DOT. They're not supposed to spread it. And towns aren't either, and there's help to come up with a plan, but it's, DPWs are busy. And
Yeah, they
What are
are.
they gonna do with
Master
it,
plan.
right? People are gonna complain, you got knotweed growing along the road, you really, unfortunately, with knotweed, it's really hard to dig out, you're gonna have to spray it.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and so what do? You attack a lesser invasive plant? I mean, the other thing is, if you go to the town dump, and didn't I text you? I took a couple of pictures and I felt bad, so I took them off my camera, but at the dump, the brush pile, there was just so much barberry in there. And I just watched people just like dumping bags of stuff that shouldn't have been dumped in there, so.
Well, they were gonna burn it, so maybe.
I don't, I'm just thinking, you just like tootle along, and you got your Dunkin' Donuts, and your donut, and your this, and your that, and it's just going
Yeah,
little
you're not
bits out of the back of
supposed
your
to-
No, you're not
truck.
supposed to move
You're
anything.
not supposed to transport viable portions of invasive species. That's why I bag it and I put it in my garage until it's desiccated, just the black
Yeah,
bag.
black bag and tie it off.
And yeah,
Yeah, I actually took a picture of one of the plant, and I tried looking up on here.
Oh, thank you.
It literally just looks like a red stick. I can't really make it more clear on the internet, but.
Oh, that's actually, I think it's raspberry, or blackberry.
You sure? Are they supposed to have thorns?
Yeah, it's blackberry, you can
Is
leave
it-
that.
Is it blueberry?
Yeah, the
But you might
can-
not
the
want it in
ca-
a cemetery, so that's
Yeah.
fine.
The canes are nasty prickly.
They're very
Yeah,
nasty.
they are.
It's not an invasive plant, but it's,
It's an aggressive
an
plant.
aggressive plant.
Okay.
Use the
Maybe
right
there's
words.
multiflora out there too.
Yeah, but this is-
Okay, anything else beside Turtle Fest? Turtle Fest is the education event we should all be talking about, so.
I'm excited.
I just wanted to add, I'm going to the New Hampshire coverts training next week, so it's pretty exciting, and will advance my knowledge and bring it back here to help the commission as well. As excited to be accepted into the program.
That's
Do
a
the
good one.
Wednesday through Saturday, yeah.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
I have one thing to bring up quick is.
Thank you.
Just for the, if anybody's watching. If you pick up your, if you choose to pick up your dog's waste, please don't bag it and throw it in wetlands.
Yeah, I see that on the rail trail,
Please.
even hanging up in the branches there at the marsh.
My
Better
wife,
just leaving it, honestly.
yeah, you better just, my wife and daughter did roadside cleanup. My back was hurting, so I didn't go. And they did it by the elementary school at the end of Durrell, there. And the wetland next to the elementary school, they were like picking up stuff around the edge of it, and the edge of it in the water edge was like just littered with dog poop bags.
Whoa, oh my God.
So very peculiar.
It's a high traffic zone for dog walkers. It's-
Yeah.
You know, once 2 or 3 do it, I guess everyone says, oh, well, then, well, I don't know.
Or honestly, it might just be the same guy every
Yeah.
day he walks his
Yeah.
dog. He's like,
That's
oh,
true.
Yeah,
That's
one
one
picture.
picture too, don't take that.
Yeah, so
Gross.
if you, so please, if you do bag it, please bring it home or dispose of it in a receptacle, which isn't the ground where it was. It would have broken down a little quicker and not left plastic waste in the woods either, so.
On that note, I was in Wells the other day on a hike on those boardwalks in there, and interestingly enough, one of those bags was tied on the back of a Jeep's rear windshield wiper, and somebody put a little handwritten note there that said, "Thank you for taking this with you."
Yeah. Remember it's there. I always put it on my hood of my car so I remember. No, I don't drive away and have it fun. But I also want to say thank you to whoever cleaned up, because we usually do a solid stretch of Ash Swamp Road on the roadside cleanup, but somebody the weekend before had gone through and done an amazing job cleaning up a lot of Ash Swamp Road, which was a nightmare. It was a mess, and somebody did it. But thank you, whoever did that.
Yeah, we did our neighborhood. Something had blown off a truck and so I had to go into a wetland, same thing, wetland, with all the foam and everything. And then the town comes and picks up the bags.
That's very cool, yeah. And although this is not official, until we have an official note from Tom, Tom is resigning from the Conservation Commission for a number of reasons.
I've got a plethora of medical issues bombarding me, so I'm just gonna have to cut stuff back. I don't know how many of y'all remember, since I don't, remember some amnesia events that I've had, and I had a third one Friday. And I was in the parking lot at the rail trail on the Newmarket end, and I remember walking towards the car, and next thing I knew, I was in a hospital bed. And so, I got some stuff to do. But yeah, thanks.
Well, our heart goes to you, and you've been a
I'll
real
be fine.
contributor, and besides the contributor, just you sitting there during our meetings has been such a positive vibe from when your presence here has been greatly appreciated, big time. So I hate to
Thank you,
say,
Chris.
he's going, we need to replace him, he's going, we need to replace
No,
him.
you
but
guys are doing,
you're,
it's been so cool. I just got it back on. Thank you.
Well, we hope that you'll be home taking care of yourself, but certainly you won't hesitate to watch these in real time on TV through the course of Tim Crimmin and his team's work broadcasting us. When you see something you like, you don't like, you want to comment on, fire off an email,
Oh,
because we
very
do
cool.
want to hear from you.
I'll be a public comment.
Nice, that will give us something to do, we need, public comment, yes. Well, we put a reserve sign on a chair for you.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, so truly, thanks for everything you've done and brought to us.
On that note, if we need help with the monitoring, I know, Tom, you kind of had taken over that, right?
Yeah, and I've got some cleaning up to do for the
Okay.
new season coming up. I'll still be doing that.
Okay,
But I
great.
won't be.
Thank
at
you,
the
Tom, yeah.
meetings, and I'll wrap it up. Thank you.
Truly, thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
Any other things to contribute to the greater good or the body of knowledge here? Motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
Discussion, comment, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So moved.
Nice to see you all anyway.